What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Backup Fantasy Sports. It is Thursday, October 26th. My name is Ewan, and on today's episode, we are going to get into some Fantasy Premier League with a Game Week 10 preview. Lots of wildcards being activated. Lots of people trying to catch Mo Salah up after his electric 2 weeks in FPL. Lots to break down. Enablers are flying in left and right, and we've got some captaincy debates for Game Week 10. Right before I get into all of that, if you could just do me a favor and like and subscribe to the channel, it would be greatly appreciated. Follow me on Twitter at YouInOrYouOut. Always appreciate all of that and interacting with the rest of the community for Fantasy Premier League and F1 Fantasy, as I do race week previews for that fantasy game as well. But enough about that. Let's get right into it here with a quick review of my Game Week 9 team. 90 points. I did end up kind of taking the coward's route and captaining Holland there, but I rolled my transfer. I've still got 0.5 in the bank. I snuck inside the top 600K with those 90 points, but attacking or returns from 8 of my 11 guys. So not much to complain about there. Burn was great. Salah was fantastic. Ward-Prowse, not great. He's on the chopping block this week, but Son, Madison, Paro came through on Monday night to boost me up. What could have been with Salah? Maybe would have cracked that 100-point club. But regardless, still a good week. Wildcard seems to be panning out quite nicely. Big Dominic Solanke there, my kind of Game Week 8 wildcard bet or flyer, worked out with a attack and return this week, and he has Burnley at home this week. So one more week for Big Dom to get me another return, and then he will be shipped on his way. Thank you for your service. Getting right into the Game Week 10 preview here with the fixtures. We've got Crystal Palace Spurs on Friday night. So it is a Friday deadline, 6:30 UK time, 7:30 Germany, 1:30 Eastern in the US. So make sure you don't get caught out with that earlier lineup lock, as we've had a few Saturdays in a row now. Chelsea, Brentford, Bournemouth, Burnley, Arsenal, Sheffield United in the classic Saturday slate. Wolves and Newcastle on Saturday night. After Arsenal and Newcastle played Champions League football on Tuesday, they get the Saturday games. Then West Ham, Everton with an earlier Sunday 1 o'clock kickoff. Aston Villa, Luton, Brighton, Fulham, Liverpool, Nottingham Forest in the Sunday games, and then wraps it all up with Man United versus Man City in the Manchester Derby on Sunday night at 4:30. So very much looking forward to that one. And a lot of those games, Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, Brighton, Fulham on Sunday, those should be fun games to watch. Fixture ticker here for the next 5 game weeks. I've got the best teams and the worst teams. If they're in all caps, the games are at home. If they are in lowercase, the games are away. Palace up top here with Tottenham, Burnley, Everton, Luton, and West Ham. And it's Brighton with Fulham, Everton, Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest, and Chelsea. West Ham highlighted here with the guy on the left, Jared Bowen. Everton, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, Burnley, and Crystal Palace. That's quite a magical run for the Hammers there. Villa have Luton, Nottingham Forest, Fulham, Tottenham, and Bournemouth. And Burnley have Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Arsenal, West Ham, and Sheffield United. So probably not going to be going for Burnley assets or Crystal Palace assets, but Brighton, West Ham, and Villa should be at the forefront of our transfer and Game Week 10 wildcarders. I use my wildcard in Game Week 8, but I do have a Game Week 10 wildcard draft coming up later in the episode. Which reminds me, if you cannot watch the entire episode, totally understand. Lots of things going on in our lives, but I do have timestamps in the episode description right below there. So please check those out if you want to skip around in the episode. And if you're not interested in one part, just go to the next part. Worst teams here, we've got Chelsea, Luton, Fulham, Man United, and Man City. Chelsea line up over the next 5 with Brentford, Tottenham, Man City, Newcastle, and Brighton. So Brentford might be an okay game for Chelsea, but after that, it gets really tough for them. Although their defense is getting better, but tough sledding for their attackers. Luton next here with Villa, Liverpool, Man United, Crystal Palace, and Brentford. Fulham have Brighton, Man United, Aston Villa, Wolves, and Liverpool. Man United start off with this Manchester derby here on Sunday. Then they've got Fulham, Luton, Everton, and Newcastle. That's 3 of their next 5 are away from home. While Fulham and Luton and Everton is quite a nice run, Man United have not delivered on good fixture runs so far this year, so I'm not sure if we want to trust them. Man City here, our 16th hardest schedule with Man United, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Tottenham in the next 5 game weeks. Enablers, lots of cheap fantasy options making our lives easier, but also giving us slightly more headaches. So these are season-long stats here for Pedro Neto, Anthony Gordon, Douglas Luiz, and Cole Palmer for Wolves, Newcastle, Aston Villa, and Chelsea. All have kind of been in our thoughts recently, but they all kind of had really good weekends, and we need to think about them a little bit more. So as of right now, Neto is the most expensive at 5.8, Gordon's at 5.6, Douglas Luiz 5.5, and Cole Palmer has risen to 5. On this season for FPL points, Neto leads with 47, Gordon 45. Oh, Douglas Luiz leads with 49. Sorry, I misread my own chart here. And then Cole Palmer with 27, but he has had a tougher time. He had to get up to match fitness, get integrated with the squad with Chelsea after his late transfer window switch from Man City to Chelsea. But this is where it starts to get interesting with the expected points provided by Fantasy Football Hub, goal involvements, and XGI. So Neto here is at 37.38. Gordon's at 30.69, Luiz at 38.64, and Palmer at 26.48. And we can view this in one of 2 ways. Cole Palmer is matching his expected points. He's had less game time, so that's encouraging. Neto and Gordon are overperforming, which is both a positive thing that they are able to outperform their expected stats, but could mean some regression is coming in the future. And Douglas Luiz actually has the strongest expected points here. He's on penalties for Aston Villa, which is encouraging. He's scored in every home game so far this season. Neto has been involved in 8 goals this season with a 4.5 XGI. Gordon with 7 goal involvements at 3.6. Douglas Luiz with 5 goal involvements at 4.2 XGI. And Cole Palmer has 4 goal involvements with 3.1 XGI. Once again, kind of similar to the points versus the expected points, that Palmer is kind of just matching what he's putting up as his underlying numbers, which is encouraging. He's the cheapest option. And that means he's kind of ticking along quite nicely, whereas Neto and Gordon are obviously overperforming. Luiz is on penalties. Palmer is on penalties as well. So those are ticks in their box for them. But this is season long. The last 4 game weeks have been a little bit different, with Palmer kind of getting more full-time run in the Chelsea squad. He comes in with 24 points on 20.44 expected points, 4 goal involvements, 2.8 XG, and then 0.68 XA. So I broke it down here with XG and XA, and Palmer actually leads both categories here. So he's at 2.8 expected goals, 0.68 expected assists. Then Luiz and Gordon are matched on expected goals at 1.9, with Neto trailing the pack at 0.86 expected goals. Neto actually comes in last in both of these categories, which makes me think he's the most expensive option. He has the kind of the worst underlying stats, at least over the last 4, the least expected points, but he's also overperforming the most as well. So certainly something to think about there. Douglas Luiz is on Villa. They've got Matty Cash, they got Ollie Watkins, they got Diaby. So he is tough to kind of fit into your squad, also at 5.5 million. But these 4 guys are definitely all in our thoughts right now for FPL. And I have them ranked here. Sorry to Neto for cutting off his face there with my video. I have Gordon, Palmer, Neto as my top 3 options out of those 4 guys. So Gordon nailed in one of the best attacks in the league, and they have the 4th best run from game week 10 to game week 18. Palmer, he's the cheapest. He has the best underlying numbers, and he's on penalties. But Chelsea do have quite tough fixtures moving forward. Neto is clearly the talisman for Wolves. He's getting strong returns. The underlying numbers are good, but he's like overperforming so much that it is slightly concerning. And they have the 5th best run from game week 10 to game week 18. So those would be my top 3. Douglas Luiz, I just think Villa have some great options right now. I'm not sure how much we're going to want to be on them after a few weeks from now. So that would be, if I'm going to go with one of these guys, it's going to be like a longer term pick. And I think that's how we should be viewing if we're picking up one of these assets for our FPL squads. Moving on to game week 10 wildcards. Everyone's doing it. So I figured I would join in, just putting some best team or the fixture ticker for the wildcard over the next 8 game weeks is I went with 8 game weeks up until game week 17 because that's the week before Man City and Brentford blank. So if you include game week 18, Man City and Brentford just drop right to the bottom of the fixture ticker. It seems a little unfair on them. But best teams from game week 10 to 17 here. I've got the top 5 and I've got the bottom 5. So West Ham, 7 of their next 8 games are against bottom half table teams. Brighton, 6 of the next 8 are against bottom half teams. Liverpool have 5 of their next 8 against bottom 7 teams. Burnley's on here as well. They've got 4 of their next 8 against the bottom 9. So that could really tell us how they're going to do this season. This is a chance for them to pick up points. I have Taylor on my bench, so maybe he can rotate in for one of those games. And then Arsenal, 3 of their next 4 are against teams currently in the relegation zone. So you got to think that now is quite a good time to get on Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli. Gabriel Jesus picked up a hamstring injury in Europe earlier this week. I would doubt he plays this weekend against Sheffield United, but you never know with Mikel Arteta. He may just flog those guys as much as he can. Gabriel's in my thinking. You can go with Zinchenko, Ben White, Saliba. Like almost every Arsenal player is up for grabs at this point with the next run of fixtures coming up for them. Worst teams here, Luton, 5 of their next 7 is against the current top 8, so that could be not good for the newly promoted side. Chelsea, 3 of their next 4 is against the current top 4. Man United, 3 of their next 8. So they have a pretty good run. I talked about this earlier. They have an okay run in the middle of this 8-game fixture run, but they also play Man City on Sunday, and they still have Newcastle and Liverpool in the next 8 as well. That's why they are down here. And then Villa, fantastic for the next 5, as you saw. I mean, they're right up there in the fixture ticker. But after game week 13, 3 of the next 4 are against top 4 sides. So that's why Douglas Luiz is maybe not in my thinking, just because he seems like a transfer out pretty soon or in the near future. It would be after the next international break, but that's why he didn't crack the top 3 of the enabler rankings that I did there. And then Fulham here, they have 6 of their next 8 against the top 9. So these are definitely things you want to think about as you build your game week 10 wildcard if you are activating it this week, which I know a lot of people are. So here is where I would have my wildcard draft as of right now, Thursday, October 26th at 7:50 Germany time. The keepers would be Areola and Strakosha. Just to save that 0.1, my defenders would be Matty Cash, Costas Tsimikas, Gabriel, Taylor, and Pau Torres. Midfielders went pretty heavy here. Salah, Son, Saka, Bowen, Gordon. And then at forward, I'd have Holland, Watkins, and Hercher. There are different configurations here. I mean, I had Dan Burn in there, but this draft actually has 0.0 in the bank for my team value, which I can actually check real quick just to let you guys know what it's at. My team value is at 101.9 million. So that is how much this draft costs. If you guys have those funds, you can build this draft. I like that it has a 4th playing defender. Taylor's in there as well as another defender. Archer's just a make weight. If you need 0.2 more, you can obviously go down from Archer to 4.3 million forward if you really need it. Gordon for me is Newcastle have strong fixtures coming up. They are flying high right now. They did lose to Dortmund last night in the Champions League, but Gordon feels pretty nailed in that team. He has good stats, so that's where the enabler come from. I could go with Palmer if I need some more money. If you want to get, trying to think where you would even upgrade here. Like if you want a Paro instead of a Gabriel, or if you don't, just there's tons of, or a Zinchenko instead of a Gabriel, or maybe even get into a Ben White from May Cash if you want to kind of triple up on Arsenal there. Those are your options to go from Gordon to Palmer. That would help you out there to get to that kind of spot in your team. This is where I would sit right now. Haaland and Salah, non-negotiables. Saka with those next 4 fixtures just seems like a fantastic asset. I wouldn't have my captaincy on Haaland. It was just auto there. But yeah, this is where I would be right now if I was on a game week 10 wildcard. I don't think that's totally different from the template. It's kind of plain Jane kind of thing, but it does look mighty good. And I have to figure out how I can get close to this wildcard. But one more decision we have to make this week is captaincy. I think there are 5 legitimate options here with Haaland, Salah, Son Heung-min, Bukayo Saka, and Ollie Watkins all kind of making their play for the armband. The predicted points comes from the rotoballer.com article that I have out, Game Week 10 ranking, so you can go check that out there, including our Game Week preview with myself and Jamie Steed. But right now, Haaland is predicted for 5.99 points, Salah 7.52, Son Heung-min 4.75, which is surprisingly low, but Tottenham just played on Monday night. They play the first game on Friday night. Is Son Heung-min going to be able? He played about 82-ish minutes, I think, on Monday. So are they going to manage his minutes a little bit more? Saka's at 6.58 against Sheffield United, and Watkins at 6.14 versus Luton. One of the things I like to look at is expected goals conceded rank for their opponents this week. So Haaland plays Man United. They are the 11th worst, or they have given up the 9th most expected goals conceded. Salah's there with Nottingham Forest. They're 9th for expected goals conceded. Son Heung-min, Crystal Palace, 10th. And this is where it gets interesting. Bukayo Saka, Sheffield United have given up the 2nd most expected goals conceded. They're 19th on the season. And Ollie Watkins plays Luton, 16th most expected goals conceded. So Saka and Watkins definitely coming into play there, along with Salah. I don't feel confident about Haaland. He scored 2 goals last night against Young Boys. So that's kind of tough to say that he's not in form anymore, as he has 3 goals in the last 2 games now. But with him on there, Salah, and with Salah, Saka, and Watkins available, it does feel like another week to go against Erling Haaland. Man United kind of picking up the pace, have a chance to go. I was doing some research this week. If they beat Man City on Sunday, it will be the first time since the 2011 season that they've beat Man City at Old Trafford in back-to-back seasons in the Premier League. So that's kind of crazy. Son, kind of a minutes risk. That's what I talked about last week when we were going between the captaincy of Haaland, Salah, and Son. But yeah, Saka and Watkins definitely good options along with Mo Salah. He has the most predicted points. Went against him last week, didn't really work out. He didn't even play that well, and he got 2 goals. So I think with his creativity, his expected assists, he's on penalties. He's banging in those penalties now, so no worries there for Mo Salah. Saka, with Arsenal potentially losing Gabriel Jesus, that could be a problem as well. And Ollie Watkins, just a little bit nervous to kind of captain someone like that. But right now, I think I'm on Salah. But if we get any press conference news tomorrow about Saka or Arsenal's fitness, definitely something to watch out for going into the weekend. Game Week 10 preview. This is my team. I have 2 versions of my team this week because I'm kind of between 2 options. So option 1 would be Pedro Paro to Simicas, and then James Ward-Prowse up to Jared Bowen. As you can see here, these are the pre and post kind of reviews from the 3 big sites. So FPL Review, Fantasy Football Scout, and Fantasy Football Hub. They all give me at least a 1-point bump when I go with this option A here, which again is Pedro Parra to Simicast and James Ward-Prowse to Jared Bowen. So FPL Review has me from 63.6 points to 64.8. Fantasy Football Scout 63 to 64. Fantasy Football Hub 63.7 to 66.3. So they really value that jump there. Something that it's interesting. Jared Bowen is someone I want. It is a sideways move, getting off of a West Ham guy to another West Ham guy. So that does give me slight concerns, but we will we'll see. I mean, this is obviously Thursday. A lot of these teams do play tonight. Brighton, West Ham, Aston Villa, and Liverpool all play in Europe tonight on Thursday. So there could be some injuries that we need to watch out for. But option B, I think, is the more exciting option. I think it's the one I prefer. Tottenham do have semi-tough run of fixtures coming up here, especially compared to what they just went through. So option B for me would also still be Pedro Parra to Simicast. So I'd still be keeping my defensive transfer, but then it would be upgrading James Maddison to Bukayo Saka. So I'd be getting rid of 2 Tottenham guys, bringing in a Liverpool guy for their good run of form, bringing in Arsenal for their good run of fixtures as well. And all of the models seem to like this option a little bit more. So it does make me kind of want to go there as well. FPL Review has me from 63.6 to 65.9. So that's a 2-point jump. Fantasy Football Scout has me from 63.4 to 65.8. And Fantasy Football Hub has me from 63.7 to 66.6. So, yeah, I think this is more exciting option. I think it's attacking the fixtures a little bit more. I think it makes me, I can keep Son Heung-min, who in my opinion is the more explosive, more attacking option for Tottenham. I don't really trust Tottenham to get a clean sheet, even though they have done it a couple of times now. But yeah, getting Simicast in at 4.5 feels like a gift with Andy Robertson out for the next 9 to 10 weeks at least. I know there's been some... I'm of the opinion that Simicast isn't that great, but he's 4.5 and he's probably going to start most of these games for Liverpool. So let's take a ride and go with that. It doesn't leave me with enough money to get up to Gabriel, which would maybe be my preferred option, unless I'm doing my maths incorrectly, but I'll double check that before I make my transfers. And then, yeah, keeps my big 3 of Ollie Watkins, Dominic Solanke, and Erling Haaland. The plan here would be to next week take Solanke down to like an Archer. That would open up nearly 2 million. And then I can easily get Cole Palmer and hopefully Jared Bowen and transition to like a 3-5-2 for a hit for next game week. But I do want to keep Solanke for this Burnley home fixture. I just feel good about it. I took a punt on him in my wild card for these 3 weeks. I'm going to give him the chance to reward my squad and my FPL points counter. Here are the transfer options from FPL Review. I've got Pedro Parra to Simicast here as my first option. I've got James Ward-Prowse to Brian Mbeumo as my second option. And option 3 is Son Heung-min to Saka. With option 1 being what I had already planned. That's a nice confirmation bias. Option 2, Ward-Prowse to Mbeumo. They recommended that last week. I kind of chuckled at them. And nope, good job by FPL Review there for sure. They got that one. And then Son to Saka. I think I prefer the Maddison to Saka move. Keeps both of the keeps the attacking assets in my team. Matt feels more of an assister than a goal scorer, so that's why I would stick with that over there. Transfers for Fantasy Football Hub. They recommend a double transfer. They have Pau Torres to Simicast and James Ward-Prowse to Diaby. I understand that with Aston Villa's fixtures. Doesn't feel like a huge upgrade. I've already got Ollie Watkins. I'm not sure I want to triple up on Villa, especially when we were just talking about how after their next 3 game weeks, they have pretty tough fixtures coming up. So I think I'm already appropriately exposed to Villa with Matty Cash and Ollie Watkins. I don't need to triple up with Diaby. But yeah, everyone's suggesting Simicast coming in. So Simicast will definitely be coming in for game week 10. And it's just kind of up to making sure the pressers go okay, making sure everyone comes through in Europe unscathed, and just hopefully no more price jumps. There haven't been any price changes or any drastic price changes this week. I think Palmer went up to 5 million, Simicast went up to 4.5, and Kieran Trippier has gone up to 7 million. But Yeah, the wild card hasn't gained a lot of movement. I mean, the game week 8 wild card, there was price changes all over the place. So it's been not a great week for gaining team value if you've been on wild card, but you have a lot more information than we do or than we did in game week 8. And you have these excellent enablers, you have Simicast, you just all these nice fixture runs coming up. So hopefully it all goes well for y'all on the game week 10 wildcard, and also for us that have already played their wildcard and are just trying to keep up with you guys moving forward. Once again, like and subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciated. Just passed 100 subscribers a couple of weeks ago. Looking to keep on ticking along as the season moves along here. Almost getting into the Christmas season. There's about to be some midweek game weeks, so I will definitely the videos will be coming out thick and fast for the remainder of the season. I also started doing some YouTube shorts for a like stoppage time reaction to each game week, just for some shorter form content for you guys to consume. But good luck in game week 10. And once again, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you next time.